Greetings, citizen!
Shh, oh, hey, be quiet. You'll scare the fish.
Have no fear. I have many powers of vision. I shall render these fish powerless with my fantastic fish-o-vision. Water creatures cannot resist the magnetic pull of my all-powerful ogling.
Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society.
Oh, joy!
Let's rock.
It makes me wanna fart!
Dear Journal, it's me, Doug.
You have it!
Baby's gotta do what a baby's gotta do.
That was a hoot!
On your mark. Get set.
Oh, here it goes!
Move over, Quail Man. Take a hike, Artie. Muscular Beaver is here to save the day. Dun 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 dun. Welcome, Slimesters and Gackoids, to the special superhero-packed episode of Splat Attack, where we're taking it back to the crime-fighting past. I'm your galactic co-host, Brett.
And I am your arch enemy, caused Alex, so doer of evil things.
Ooh, Alex, my arch nemesis. The only one who knows my true weakness.
Yeah.
And what is that weakness?
Scripts. That's our weakness.
Yeah, I know. I can write them really well, but I can't follow them that well.
Well, and I never even go off script anyway.
Yeah, it's okay. We got that. That's our bloopers for episode 4.
Just a fun intro.
Yeah.
So, I'm very. I have no idea what we're talking about here, Brett.
Really? How could you not know? It's Angry Beavers. You know.
Oh, is it?
That showed that many '90s kids, at least the younger ones, know pretty well. Yes.
Definitely for your generation and after.
I think it's particularly a charming episode. Like,
Yes.
I think it fits in with the other Nicktoons very well.
I agree.
Even though it like showed up around 97, you know, it still has that same feel that the earlier ones did. So
Yeah, I'm really bummed that this came out right when I was starting to lose interest. Because if I was a few years younger, I would have watched the fire out of the show and I'd have loved it. I was really getting a kick out of rewatching it again for this episode. So
hell yeah,
this would be a fun one.
Well, if anyone hasn't seen them yet, definitely buy the Shout Factory DVDs of the complete series. It's a hoot.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so glad they finally released most of the Nicktoons, if not all the Nicktoons, on DVD.
Yeah, I think we're missing As Told by Ginger and a few random ones, but we got the big heavy hitters.
Oh yeah,
which is important.
and I think maybe all the episodes are on Paramount Plus. I'm pretty sure they are.
Probably
For Angry Beavers.
Yeah, I'm kind of old school. I just watch via DVD. So
do I.
For anyone who has that streaming service, check it out and let us know. But anyways, we're here today not just to talk about Angry Beavers and its history. We're really going to focus in on the Muscular Beaver saga because there's been quite a few episodes amongst this series, 5 to be exact, plus 2 cameo appearances in other episodes. So we're going to definitely, cover those in just a brief detail. And we're going to try and do our best to rank them in order from best to worst. And after that, we're just going to have another fun segment like you always know and love.
Woohoo!
Muscular Beaver! I love saying that. I just don't want to say it in public because people might give me weird stares, especially on the subway.
Also, if you went to like a gentleman's club, then it would be really inappropriate.
Yeah. But I think I could get away if I somehow fashioned a costume like Daggett's at a cosplay convention and just started running around with no context, shouting Muscular Beaver with a sock on my head.
It would absolutely be fitting. There was one not that long ago where this guy was going around as Powdered Toast Man.
Really?
And he had the build for it. I mean, it was his body, and he had just painted but I mean, he had the muscles for it, and then a padded underwear and shoes, and
he even had the flat toaster head too.
Oh yes, it was an awesome pick.
In order to properly rank these episodes, we are going to do several criteria, ranging from how memorable it is. Basically, if we saw it, previous times when we were younger, does it still hold up today? Do we still remember it fondly today? We're going to talk about the villains, like, are they a formidable foe for Muscular Beaver and any of his sidekicks that happen to join him for an episode? The story, of course, we got to see if it's an engaging story, if it's rather boring or not. Any quotes that stick out to us is worth mentioning too, if it has a ton of quotes or if it doesn't have anything that's worth saying. And of course, animation too, because animating superhero beavers is not easy. So if it looks flashy and it looks fluid, that's just, one more gold star for its ranking. If anyone's interested in seeing any other episodes we did for ranking, check out our Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 2-parter that is also on YouTube and anywhere that we do our podcasts. So Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and the dozens of others that we're on. So let's just dive in, get rid of all the extra nonsense, and start with Muscular Beaver 1, which is from Season 1, Episode 6A. And it aired on September 27th, 1997. So the basic deal for Muscular Beaver 1 is that, inspired by a comic that Daggett's reading, he ends up fashioning a homemade costume to emulate his hero, Muscular Beaver. However, his superhero antics frustrate his fellow woodland creatures to the point where his brother Norbert must step in as the villain Baron Bad Beaver to set Daggett straight. So what do you remember most about this episode, Alex?
Okay, this is the episode that I think of when I think of Muscular Beaver.
Yes, me too.
Which I think is appropriate, because if there's a recurring theme in any TV show, it's because it had to start with something really strong. And this one absolutely does. And I find it really unusual that as a kid, I was more on Norbert's side because Daggett always really annoyed me with how extreme he was. And the reason I find that so unusual is because I'm often the extreme one whenever I'm with all my friends. And there's always somebody else who's a Norbert, just really frustrated with me, and me being the actor that I am for a lot of the community theater events. But I'm in character. And that's exactly what Daggett does with Muscular Beaver. Once he's in character, he's done. He's not going to stop until he's done with his storyline.
Right.
And Norbert just hates it. And I remembered I felt so bad for Norbert every single time, especially with this episode. Oh, please don't embarrass me. Please don't embarrass me. Please don't embarrass me. Because I've been Daggett, and I would go out of the way to embarrass people. And I love the voice for particularly Norbert. I love the Baron Bad Beaver. The
Very
Muscular
sophisticated.
Beaver. The Muscular Beaver is great, and I love how the two are not only opposites in personality within their main characters, but I also love that the superhero personas were also very opposite, with Muscular Beaver being very almost like the Tick.
Yes.
This big,
very obnoxious, grandiose, ostentatious, all that good stuff.
And then you've got the complete opposite of just It reminds me of the villain on Kung Pao. Because he would always, he talks like this. From now on, I will be known by the name Betty. And that's the character. That's the same type of voice. And I absolutely, I remembered him zooming around on the wheelbarrow and
there. Damn it. Yeah, that thing right there.
I remember that stupid. And I love it's a recurring theme that they have those quintessential superhero phrases, but they always say them incorrectly. Like he would say alas, but it would come out Alice. And in the first episode, it was always the right way. He would always run up to other woodland creatures and fear not, citizen. But after that, every episode after, it was cit-i-zens or however they pronounced it. was wrong every time.
Yeah, very exaggerated.
and they just went with that trope where they would mispronounce everything, and to the point where the last ones, they were really starting to correct each other as they were doing them. But that started with this one, and this one is the most iconic to me.
Yeah. I mean, this one is also the most iconic to me because I don't know what happened when I was a kid. I think I just delved more into Cartoon Network around this time because they had Dexter's Lab, Powerpuff Girls, Johnny Bravo, Cow and Chicken. Probably What a Cartoon Show that like took most of my attention at the time.
And Eddie.
Yeah, and many more. So, around the time Angry Beavers showed up, my attention was shifting to like an older demographic, and I didn't stick around for most Nicktoons, similar to you. But I did manage to stick around for the first season of Angry Beavers, and I think the second. And I definitely remember this episode fondly. I just remember how like ridiculous Daggett looks in his costume. Obviously, it's homemade, so he's got a sock over his head. He's got like fake pectoral muscles shoved into his spandex. He's got like dishwashing gloves, towel as a cape, and his utility belt, which is actually just a pair of briefs that he's probably stole from Quail Man. So, he looks goofy doing it. He looks even goofier doing it in the woods, pretending to be a superhero while all the woodland creatures are not taking him seriously. And I really love like one of the particular moments where he just like pretends to use his cloak of invisibility to help a fellow raccoon to like take a picnic basket from like a family who's eating in like a park, and he just goes straight up on the picnic table dressed up as that and steals the picnic basket away like he's Yogi Bear or Boo Boo or something. and the dad says, "You see that weird little weasel creature steal our lunch?" And they just go after him right after he hands the picnic basket to the raccoon. He's like, "The day is saved. My job is done here." And he like whooshes off on his little radio flyer wagon, and then the family proceeds to like go chase after the raccoon with the picnic basket. It's hilarious. Just seeing that blatant like, oh, I'm being so stealthy with my invisibility cloak, but everyone, including the parents, can see him, even us at home. So
You see that weird little weasel? He just walked right in here and stole our food.
No need to thank me, citizen. It's all in a day's work for Muscular Beaver! Woosh!
Hey, get back here with that phone. Hey, you! Hey, get back here!
The best part of it is the sound that he's making.
As if it has some sort of like electrical current in it. Yeah, it's great. I love that. I love like the what's that like? He has like chest hair of steel, which really is just like a spring that pops out when he rips his shirt open. I don't know what that's supposed to do, but it's also hilarious. At one point, like when he has the showdown with Bill and Bad Beaver, he tries to use his whole arsenal of obviously fake and crappy superhero powers against him, and Bear and Bad Beaver is able to outwit him fairly easily to help him come to his senses and get out of character because he's clearly, too far deep consciously with it. Yeah, I got to give this an S for Splatterific because I just love it so much. It's my favorite of the bunch. Spoiler alert.
And I also give it an S. I love the quotes. I love the gags. The timing, the comedic timing for it was perfect in every shot. And what was the other thing that I really appreciated? I completely forgot about the tone lock sounding bear.
They're both crazy.
He sounds like Barry White, or I think he's based off of Barry White, which is it's called Barry. That was pretty good too.
Oh, I love how grounded it was because it was just them using their imagination. Well, Daggett using his imagination, and then Norbert going into character and ended up using his imagination. It was two brothers who were playing, and one of them had sucked the other one in.
Yep.
And there was no incredible superpowers or anything. They're just using their imagination, which is what kids do. And I really loved that. And then later on, it goes beyond that. But I really loved that it was just that there was no incredible superpowers. There was no supervillain. It's just play.
Yeah, very much like, Doug when he first formed his Quailman persona. It was just him and, Quail Dog in the thicket of solitude, using his imagination to figure out how to solve problems at school or how to deal with Roger or assistant principal Bone or anything like that. And I think that's something that's sorely missing today is just lack of imagination when it comes to like being able to engage yourself with things. It's very quotable. Love the silly powers, visual gags. The picnic scene is a highlight moment for me. Very rewatchable. I find myself coming back to it very often when I'm in the mood for just a quick 90s Nick fix. Some of the character animation does seem unevenly paced for me, and that may be just because things tend to be rough in earlier seasons than later seasons. But I still found it charming enough, so it's not too distracting. Other than that, it's just super goofy and refreshing.
And I also loved the comics at the beginning.
Yes, can't forget that because that's where he draws his inspiration from.
I loved the design for it. I really miss that style of animation.
Yeah,
both in comics and in cartoons.
It reminds me of Jack Kirby's work, who did the Spider-Man comics.
Yes,
very bright, very graphic, thick, heavy lines, and dynamic poses. So it's a great nod to comic book history with that style and how like the camera just pans to the different panels as if we're reading it with Daggett in the beginning.
Yep.
Cool. Moving on, we have Muscular Beaver number 2 from season 2, episode 3A. And what this one's about is that despite Norbert's efforts to prevent Daggett from parading around as a superhero, 2 scientists needing help removing a giant splinter monster from one of their colleagues call them to action. Though there are many trials and tribulations through the ordeal, Norbert learns the joy of becoming a superhero, even turning a new leaf from Baron Bad Beaver to Baron Once Bad, Now Good Beaver. What do you have to say about this one?
Okay, so a few things come to mind. I don't care for the fact that it's no longer imagination, it's now reality. Right. And they really thought Daggett was a superhero. But I did love that Norbert he's just an idiot beaver. he has no superpowers. And then they didn't believe him. But I also loved how absurd this monster is. It's just a giant splinter. But I really did love the comedic timing of the 2 scientists. The way they could never get anything right, the way they were always almost on the with the facts, and then never mind, and then we'll go to something else. I love that there were viewmasters to check out the
mission,
like the slideshow and things like that. And the entire let me switch to a different show. There was Timon and Pumbaa, the show.
Yeah.
And I think every episode, if not every episode, every few episodes, at the end of the episode, they would have a musical song, or they would just have a song that they would do a cover of. And one of them was Stand By Me. And every single time Timon sang Stand By Me, Pumbaa was in the background and something terrible would happen to him.
Stand by me, stand by me. I don't think I like this song.
Every single time. And with the amount of times they say Stand By Me in the song, so many bad things happen to Pumbaa. And I thought of that the entire time I was watching this episode, because I have no memory of watching this show as a kid. So watching it as an adult, I remember Timon and Pumbaa. I could do the whole thing internally. But every single time Muscular Beaver wanted Baron Beaver to attack Splinter, something bad always happened to him. And then he'd show up again. You have to protect yourself with your helmet!
Oh my god. I think I broke the sound barrier with that. Now I'm getting into character.
I told you a sidekick's best friend is his helmet!
Every time. I loved that was this thing. This was the part that made me laugh the hardest.
Yeah.
Because he would come up, and it wasn't just that. He would do it with every, whenever he would talk to Norbert. Yes, I'm going to deliver my line with one final Gusto every single time I laughed.
Yeah,
it's not as well choreographed and well constructed as a story, and even some of the jokes were all kind of okay.
Yeah,
but there was still a lot that I enjoyed out of this.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely remember the villain being like very imposing looking. Like I thought he was pretty creepy and menacing and just bizarre in how large he was. Like if it was a splinter, you thought it'd be like the size of his finger, but nope, it's like oversized and somehow like attached to the guy's finger, and it's like the size of a tree. It's ridiculous.
What was the thing they were trying to make? They were trying to make something that you put on your skin on lotion, and it was going to prevent your skin from doing something. It wasn't sunblock or anything like that. It was
in the episode.
Yes, because that was the reason that they made it. It was so that you couldn't get splinters. They made this, but it ended up making the splinter bigger. But I thought that was hilarious. Of all things to make a lotion for.
Right, like so random. Would you find that at a local pharmacy? This was an interesting episode. I somehow felt like I was taken out of the immersion due to the scientists being there and actually taking them seriously as superheroes somehow.
Yeah.
And seeing Baron Bad Beaver as though it could be fun for people who are fans of him, that he like switched sides to become good. Something about just seeing his helmet with like rosy cheeks painted on it with a goofy squiggly smile just really took it out for me. And I like it when Norbert's like fully into character being bad, but the fact that he's good with that stupid face paint, I just did not like him for that.
Oh, that reminds me of a character. I gotta find it now. It reminds me, I don't know the character's name, but Ernest P. Worrell, who's been on like Ernest Scared Stupid and things like that. That actor had actually made another movie well before that, and it was called Dr. Otto and the Riddle of the Gloom Beam. And in it was this ridiculous robot that had a face that would constantly change, which was just a smiley face. But whenever they wanted to do express emotions, that stupid thing would change his expressions. It's dumb, but that's what I thought of with with that dumb smiley face on the helmet.
Yeah,
on the bucket.
So there's that, and just the way Daggett like literally abuses Novert for the sake of, you know, you got I don't remember specifically, I just remember him like throwing him off a cliff like,
not till the world is once again safe from giant mad splinter thingies. Onward, fearless sidekick! Follow me! Like this! Whoosh! See how easy it is to travel in the guise of a fearless sidekick? Gadzooks!
I just remember feeling bad for Norbert because, you know, he was being tossed and turned and thrown around during this entire episode. And I'm like, well, are you going to fight crime, or are you just going to like throw your brother off a cliff one more time or down a mine shaft? Come on, let's kill the giant splinter thingy.
Oh, there was one thing I really appreciated, and that was the Batman nod. At the end of 89 Batman, there's the slow pan up the scaffolding, which then turned into the church, and then it ended with Batman on top of a statue, the gargoyle, with the moon, well, not the moon, but the night sky behind him, and then the bat signals shine right in front of him. But it did that big crescendo and then ended with church bells. They did that in this episode, where it was going up the mountain cliff, and then you'd see tunnels and things. Like, it just kept going, but they had that same type of song, very, very similar, avoided for copyright, and then ended with him at the top of a mountain, and then I think it was a ray of sunlight on him or something like that, and then they did some of the church bells, but they did a few additional church bells just to get it slightly different. But I loved that nod.
Yeah, it's great that there's a lot of references in these. So with that being said, I did also note that I think Baron Bad Beaver, or Baron Once Bad But Now Good Beaver had a second helmet in this episode that looked like a colander or some sort of salad toss bowl, and it made him look like Mysterio from Spider-Man to me.
Yes, I agree. Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Other than that, I don't know how I feel about Baron Bad Beaver being Muscular Beaver's sidekick. It seems I don't know if that dynamic really works despite them being brothers in real life. But I give this a Splat fridge just because it gave me some mixed feelings throughout it. I like the villain. I like some of the quotes. I did find the Viewmaster, scene pretty comical, but it took me out of the immersion that made me fall in love with Muscular Beaver from the initial episode.
Yeah, and my big thing was that I didn't really care for the fact that now there are real monsters,
Legit
and real villains,
yeah.
and they are under the impression that these guys are the real deal. I didn't care for that, but outside of that, I really enjoyed the comedy, especially the straight man and the goofball and the ridiculous nods. I give it a Splatisfactory.
Okay. So that's a B, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, moving right on to the third one, Muscular Beaver 3 from Season 3, Episode 4A, which aired April 4th, 1999. And I forgot to mention that Muscular Beaver 2 aired March 15th, 1998, for those who are keeping track at home. So with Muscular Beaver 3, it looks like it's winter, and we open to see Muscular Beaver like bobsledding down a hill into like a giant, what's it called?
A ravine?
Ravine, that's it. I was trying to say like Kareem, but clearly that's what it is. And just in the nick of time, he's actually saved by a tree flower while she's like snowboarding nearby. And he tries to like somehow, get her to be his sidekick this time around. But because he's been spending so much time, just doing whatever in the cold, he ends up getting sick. And so Tree Flower ends up having to take care of him. And in the meantime, while Norbert's like tending to like shoveling snow at home, he ends up getting jealous from afar, thinking that, Tree Flower's fallen in love with Daggett while he's Muscular Beaver. So a lot of the episode essentially just deals with Norbert trying to deal with his jealousy and Daggett just coughing and sneezing a lot while Tree Flower's just kind of wedged in there. So if you want to add anything, feel free to.
Well, there's not much to add. It's less a Muscular Beaver episode and more a Norbert episode. Yes, Muscular Beaver's in it, but the fact that the Muscular Beaver persona takes a backseat to a different plot, and not a very good one. We've seen this one many other times, and I don't really care for this particular plot device. I did really like the sneeze gag, where every single time Daggett would sneeze, it would cut to a wall, and then you just see the snot cover the wall, but the silhouette would remain of the person who was in front of them. And it made me gross out every time, but I was like, oh, but I still laughed. It teetered on that Ren and Stimpy gross out, but not even remotely that disgusting. But the idea of it was gross and it made me laugh. But outside of that, there really wasn't too much memorable about this episode.
No, I mean, there are more instances of Norbert getting hurt for visual comedic effect, which, if you love that from Muscular Beaver 2, it's basically more of the same. I don't have much positive things to say about this one, to be honest. There's a few quotes here and there. I couldn't remember any of them. The ending felt very long and anticlimactic to me. Like I felt it should have ended a scene or a shot or two earlier, if you can recall that. And I'm just going to give it a splatastrophe because it felt like a waste of time. And I hate to give things a splatastrophe, but usually when I feel this strongly about something, 90s Nick or anything else, I have good justification for it. And it just, it didn't do justice to what the character has been established to be in previous episodes, because the plot about taking care of Daggett while he's sick was just so like overbearing, and everything else just got funneled into that instead.
And I had just watched this episode last night, and I'm trying to remember most of it now. Like I remember the first two very well. This one I hardly remember anything about, and it outside of the sneezing, I didn't really get any big laughs.
No.
There's nothing about it that I would say is bad. There are things that I don't really care for, but nothing that makes me go, "Oh man, that's just terrible." But outside of that, I don't remember much of it. And in the same guise as I did for my ratings for some of the monsters on Power Rangers, if I don't remember most of it, then I just leave it blank slate right in the middle and I give it a splat fridge.
That's fair. I think the one thing that bugged me, aside from the whole love triangle thing that was kind of going on, is how like Daggett was saved from going into the ravine and then like made it to the other side safe, and then he like got up from his weird little like cardboard box on his sled thing, and then he slid right back into it.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Kind of funny, but it didn't really seem necessary to add in. Moving on with Muscular Beaver number 4, which is from season 3, episode 9A, which aired August 14th, 1999. What happens in this one is that Muscular Beaver is at it again as he's faced his most fearsome foe to date, Tobot. Norbert is yet again peeved Daggett is reprising his superhero role, upset that Daggett will upset his guests for an upcoming party that they have planned. Upon seeing the Beaver brothers goofing off in all their superhero outfits at the party, their friends actually get the idea to form a Justice League-esque alliance, complete with their own unique superhero costumes. So, what do you remember about this one?
Daggett has the strongest toe I have ever seen.
Right?
Ever. I mean, he is down on the ground and he's just using one toe to inch him across the room. I love Daggett's dedication to a character, because this toe had essentially melted his brain, melted the.
It's like mind controlling him.
Yes, Tobot had completely wiped his brain, and he's now in control. And okay, that's fine. That's what you want to pretend. That's fine. Norbert's not in the mood for it, and he's like, okay, fine. You know, we're done with this. Takes off the little toy, and Daggett goes into this stupid scream.
Yeah, I remember that.
You win! Well, let's just hurry up and get it over with.
And he won't stop until he puts the toy back on the toe and then just quits. And then, oh yes, I'm in control. Daggett, that's enough. Takes it off. Goes back into that scream. and he said what I was thinking. Because dad mode, whenever my children get acting like that and they're not listening to me try and reason with them, okay, fine, scream. I don't care. I'll wait till you're done. And they eventually do. But Daggett
he is really persistent.
I mean, it went forever. He's trying to put up decorations for a party. He's trying to get himself ready. And in the background, he just show up. Yeah!
Yeah.
And he's, fine, enough. Puts it back on. I will give. I'm done. I'll give in. And I love the fact that it wasn't just the two of them at it again. It actually got the other supporting characters all in this episode too, and they all were, oh, it's a costume party, superhero costume party. Oh, that's great. And they all came up with their own things, and I really liked that. I thought that was fun.
The Justice Guys and one gal.
And I was about to say something that goes to the next episode, but I did really like this one. I don't think it's not my favorite, but I do really enjoy it. Mostly for the setup, though. Once the payoff took off of the big party, I was less interested. I liked the idea of it, but nothing really happened comedically that made me laugh out loud. But the setup of the, oh, please not this again, please not this again. I could have just had the whole episode of that, and I would have been fine. But I really loved Daggett's dedication once he's involved with the character.
Yeah. When it comes to Muscular Beaver episodes, basically Norbert being fed up with Daggett's antics and Daggett just being fully immersed in his character, somehow a little bit, beyond the max each time is probably the best quality of these episodes. Just them wrestling with it and other characters being sucked into it and trying to deal with it as well. Like what I enjoyed most about Muscular Beaver 4 is actually how the woodland creatures had a little bit of character development where they're like, I'm not really into this, Daggett. You're making a fool of yourself in the first Muscular Beaver. And they're like, once they're at the party, they're just so baffled by what's happening with Daggett and a thimble on his toe, essentially a painted thimble with like little springy arms and whatnot. That they're just like, you know what? Forget it. We're in. We're going to make our own costumes and form the Justice League and Justice Gal. And it's pretty cool to see some of the costume ideas that they all come up with. Like Barry is like a 70s disco kind of guy, superhero with like an afro and a comb and like a really cool like leisure suit on. And then there's Goody Good Gal. Yeah. And she was based off of Wonder Woman essentially. Yeah. And then Bang, the little lizard guy, he was like this weird bug thing that was pretty cool. Truckee, the shrew, I forgot what he was as well, but I don't think much of his costume changed. But the whole point is that they really got into it and they tried to wrestle with the Tobot, and they also struggled as well. So they were trying to think of a way to overcome him. So it was just a lot of chaotic, good fun to watch them deal with this, and how it actually left me on the edge of my seat to see like how they're going to resolve this and just get back to normal. I did think the villain defeat was very impressive. Hilarious ending at the very end as well. I actually laughed out loud when I saw it, and it made me feel good that I can actually get a good chuckle from an episode of 90s Nick that I saw for the first time not too long ago. And I would say it's just as good as the first one, but not quite enough time to flesh out the other characters. Otherwise, it would be on the same level for me.
And I also, to go off your point of character development, I loved the fact that the first couple of episodes, Barry was very frustrated at the fact that Daggett was wearing his underwear on the outside of his clothes.
Yep.
And
utility shorts.
And in this episode, when Barry got to wear a costume and he was finally into this idea, he admitted, I can finally wear my underwear on the outside.
Yeah.
One I take that back. There is one joke that did make me laugh, and I forgot the character's name, but it was the trucker.
Yeah, Truckee the Shrew.
He was wanting to play. He was into it. It's like, okay, I'll play. And then Tobot smacked him in the face. He said, he smacked me in the face. I'm done playing.
Yeah, he started crying.
And I was like, okay, I've played with people like that. Like, I'm into this. No, never mind. I'm done.
Yeah.
I loved that. I thought that was fun.
That just unearthed a bad memory of mine where I was like at a kid's birthday party and I was like going on his homemade seesaw in the back of his yard. And I was like, you want to play seesaw? I'm pretty good at this, keeping momentum. And as soon as I got on, we go like, it gets to the point where he lifts me up and then he gets distracted by the cake, jumps right off, and my balls get smushed by the board. I never talked to him again. He was a jerk, but that's what I remember from that party.
So sorry. Sorry.
I don't like people who are unaware of their own destruction that they create. But luckily, Daggett's not too harmful. He's just delusional.
he's in character.
Yeah.
Get on my plane. I don't know what you are. You're the weirdo. You're not on my plane of existence. Get up here with me.
Are you asking me that right now?
No, that's Daggett.
Oh, gotcha.
That's Daggett's mindset.
Like, what other plane do I need to be on for this episode?
No, that's Daggett's mindset, because everyone looks at him like he's the weirdo, and he looks at them like they're the weirdos. Because no, get on my plane. I'm up here with this character. You should be up here with me, and I will stay here until you do.
And that's pretty much what happens with this episode, and I find it a lot of fun. So for that reason, I got to give it a Splat-slint, which is an A.
I give it a Splatisfactory. It's like I said, I like the setup. I like the setup more than I liked the punchline.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. I just really love the interaction with all the characters and the ending. I just wish I remember what the ending was because I saw all these episodes. I binged all these episodes like a week ago.
Oh, they put the shoe of justice on him, the sneaky shoe. They put that on top of Tobot, and then Tobot's very, oh no, you assaulted me. And then there's this bright ray of light that shot out of the shoe and completely engulfed the entire room. And
that's
it. And then you get outside the dam, and all the lights are shining through the windows.
Yeah. I think because of how that ending took me off guard, I was just laughing hilarious. Like, wow, maybe this thing is actually a robot that just happens to be nestled on Daggett's toe. Maybe he's not pretending. The fact that I had to question that just takes it to the next level for me. I do want to mention before we move on to the next one that I know this bit of trivia is that Barry's song about Tobot is quite catchy and also flows to the tune of Al Green's Let's Get Together, which was a popular R&B hit from the 70s, which, you know, his costume has an inspiration from.
Yeah.
Cool. So last but not least, we have Muscular Beaver, number 5, from season 4, episode 7B, and it aired September 30th, 2000. And what happens in this one is that, mortified by the outcome of the latest Muscular Beaver issue, we get to see that again at the beginning, which is nice. Daggett announces at his other house party that he's retiring the superhero persona for good. While Norbert celebrates at the end of his brother's misguided mishaps, it turns out it was because Norbert finally embraced his role as Baron Bad Beaver. With the help of his unofficial sidekick, Most Potent Bug, who happens to be Bing, and that was the costume that he was wearing in the 4th episode, Daggett dons his costume once more for a final epic showdown in Baron Bad Beaver's secret underwater fortress beneath the dam. And boy, oh boy, was this incredible. Like, just balls to the wall, like, ridiculous. And I felt like it had some James Bond vibes to it, too, with, like, the secret lair thing going on. And the fact that Daggett was, like, trapped in a bowl of cereal, a giant bowl of cereal with a spoon. Do you have any thoughts to add to this?
The beginning of Ace Ventura When Nature Calls, that reminded me of this scene, or this episode, because Ace Ventura was in a monastery, and he didn't want to leave, but he finally took a case, and then everyone was so excited they're getting rid of Ace that they started throwing this big party, and I thought of that with this because Daggett is so distraught by the fact that the president was Baron Bad Beaver, and then very much a nod to Spider-Man, where he retires the suit and says, "I will be," of course, in the comics, "I am Spider-Man no more. I am Muscular Beaver no more," and they very much echoed the same image. And well, I have to follow suit. I can no longer be Muscular Beaver, and then goes into this party and announces to everyone, I am a hero no more. And then there's trumpet sounding and cheering and confetti, and they are happy.
I'm surprised because I was actually touched. Like, I felt sad for him that he had to give up the persona because he was so invested, and just felt compelled to because of the comic book he was reading.
I thought that was hilarious. Because again, I can feel Norbert's pain.
Sure.
But I did love the bit where he was trying to pass off pieces of his costume to the other characters, and I think it was Bing, where he was going to give Bing something, and then someone else ran by and took it, and he said, "Oh yes, you take care of those. I'm sorry, you don't get those. You get something else." And then
yeah. I mean, what are you gonna do? That guy wanted it more. Who got the utility shorts? I must know that.
Barry.
Ah, right, because he got really comfortable with it in the previous one.
And they were stanky. Like, he took them off, and there was the cartoon squiggles coming out of it.
Yeah, stink lines.
And it landed right on Barry's face.
Maybe Daggett never actually washed those when he wore his costume. That's why.
Well, I mean, he had sticky shoes, so everything was always and sweaty. He had the sweaty shirt too. It stuck to the ceiling.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very good chance he never washed those, which is even grosser to think about.
Yep.
But I appreciated, again, I think I like the setup more than I'd like the payoff. Just because we've seen the payoff on many things before, with this kind of an idea of something going over the top, especially when you're a James Bond nut and you've seen a lot of things like this many times. So I've seen the ending trope done in many cartoons before. I haven't seen this setup where we've seen characters who want to be the superhero, but I can't recall another cartoon or TV show for that matter where they took a fan's perspective of their favorite character going through this kind of an arc. And I really liked that idea. And one of the things that I would have liked to have seen take place more is very much in the guise of the Ren and Stimpy episode. I can't think of the name of the episode, but it was one where Stimpy had lost his fart.
Oh, Son of Stimpy.
Yes. And he was very sad. And Ren spent a big portion of the episode trying to get Stimpy's enthusiasm up, or anything outside of this funk. I would have liked to have seen that as the second half of this episode, or instead of him going into Baron Bad Beaver, and because he really got into the character, which I did like that idea too. I would have liked to have seen more of Daggett just being completely in a slump over it's done. My favorite thing is done, and what do I do? And Norbert actually coming to, oh man, come on, do something. Let's go do something else, and then goes into the costume because now it's for the sake of taking care of his brother, as opposed to, nope, I just like the character now. I think that would have hit home a little more, and would have been, but then you wouldn't get the big scale action set pieces at the end, which again are fun, but it's a kids cartoon show, and we've had big episodes. I sometimes the more subtle and personal things resonate more.
Sometimes it's important just to scale back and like take time and space to really explore deeper, feelings and issues that are behind what we see on the surface. And I really do like your approach to how you would have done this finale differently, because it's very relatable, and I feel like not everything needs to have a big action hero ending in order to be impactful. For me, like, your version just kind of completes this whole arc of, oh, I'm totally invested and passionate in this role that no one really believes in. Then I get some people on board, and then I feel like, well, nothing gold can stay. I guess I got to figure out what to do with my life now. And, much like, many people's lives, including my own, it's hard to know what that next step is. And many times you're just fumbling around, but because it's superheroes, I guess they took the cheaper route. And because this was the last season of the series, they just decided to go out with a bang, which, that's fine too. Different strokes for different folks, but even given that, I still enjoy what they did with it. Like, they really pushed it to like the next level with what they did with the whole like rocket thing. And I really thought it was humorous at the end how everything, all this action stuff happened, and then at the end they just end up, I think it's in front of their beaver dam or on like a pile of underwear, and they just keep giving each other wedgies until the screen fades out.
Yep.
Yeah, like, okay, we're just gonna play for our utility shorts. Okay, I'm here for it. What else can I say about this episode? I feel like it bookended the first one pretty well with the whole comic book intro to, still bring things full circle, even if it's totally different than what you discussed as an alternate version. There are multiple times where I generally, laughed out loud, which is always a good sign when I watch cartoons. I think it's pretty rewatchable. If I were to rewatch any Muscular Beaver episode or any Angry Beavers episode, it'd be Muscular Beaver 1 and 5.
Yeah,
for sure. And it just put a smile on my face. So I'm going to give it a Splat standing, which is a double S.
And I, again, because I'm very much more about the setup than the payoff, because I've seen the payoff many times. and just how I would have done some things a little differently. I still really liked the episode. It was still a lot of fun, and there's some James Bond nods in there. So of course I got to appreciate that. But I give it a Splatulent. I really enjoyed it.
Cool. So let's do a quick recap of our 5 episode ratings, and then we'll give the whole saga an overall rating. So starting off for Muscular Beaver 1, I gave it a Splatterific, or S.
And I gave that a Splatulent, I believe.
So Muscular Beaver 2, I had Splatverage, or C.
And that one, I believe I gave a B. That was Splatisfactory?
Yeah, you liked it more than me.
Yes, Satisfactory. That was it.
Yeah. And then for Muscular Beaver 3, I gave a Splatastrophe, or F.
And I gave that one a Splatverage.
So C.
Yes.
And then for Muscular Beaver 4, I gave it a Splatsulent, or A.
And I believe I get that Splatisfactory.
Okay. And then rounding things off, I gave Muscular Beaver 5 a Splat Standing, or double S.
And I gave that a Splatsulent. An A.
Cool. So not too far off.
No.
But anyways, so the saga rating for the Muscular Beaver saga, I would have to give a B overall. Through all the ups and downs, I really enjoyed seeing Daggett's character development as he's committed to his role as the denizen of the nights. Just kind of convincing all the woodland creatures that they need to be saved with all of his ridiculous powers. I loved how he ended up roping Norbert into it due to his disdain, and he ended up starting to like his role as the villain / sidekick, depending on what episode you prefer. Other than that, I already mentioned like how I feel about each individual episode. But overall, I liked Muscular Beaver 1 and 5 the most, and it just makes sense because it really gets to the heart of what fun, goofy characters these are when they really, take things to the extreme, yet also a different direction than you expect.
And which I think is funny because you are Angry Beavers is you loved this show, and I was very much it's okay, I don't really care for it. But then watching it again for this episode, it made me laugh a lot, and I really dug it. And I loved the theming. I loved the nods, the frequent superhero nods, and seeing James Bond references twice. Double O Beaver.
Yeah, you get lucky there.
I loved the goofy voices that they would do. I really enjoyed it as a whole. There are just a couple of things I didn't care for that brought it down just a little more, even with one episode being mostly forgettable. As a whole, I really enjoyed it, and I would give it an A.
Impressive. Well, that being said, I guess it goes to show you that it doesn't really matter when you get into Angry Beavers, as long as you, take a look at some of their more stellar episodes. So if any of you Slimesters and Gackoids out there haven't really give Angry Beavers a shot because it was too late in the 90s, think again. You might want to revisit it and start with the Muscular Beaver saga, because it's, as you've heard from us, it's quite a roller coaster of a ride and fun in many parts.
Or a red wagon of a ride.
Yeah, radio flyer wagon or a bobsled. Other than that, I do want to mention before we get to our segment that there actually are 2 other Muscular Beaver cameos that are worth seeing. I didn't bother reviewing their episodes today because it's really just like a quick scene or 2 featuring the cameos, but they're still worth mentioning for anyone who wants to go deeper into the Angry Beavers lore or just likes Easter eggs. So there's 2 other episodes that Muscular Beaver appears in briefly, one being Gift Horse from Season 1, Episode 3A, which is Muscular Beaver's first ever appearance, where Daggett uses his Pine Tree air freshener as a Pino ring that he got either as a Christmas gift or like some sort of gift, while Norbert got like a massive model train that he put together. And, he was just trying to distract himself essentially from getting a really crappy gift by using his imagination with it. Hence why he made the superhero costume to, go along with his new weapon, kind of like a batarang. But it was pretty fun to see that little hint of his alter ego emerging in that scene. Other than that, we have Mistaken Identities from Season 3, Episode 12A, where Norbert dresses as Muscular Beaver and Daggett dresses as Baron Bad Beaver in a little role reversal, because this episode really delves into what it's like for one beaver to be the other beaver because they think they got it easier being them. Turns out that's not the case, and they go through a lot of like fighting and hijinks and break a lot of stuff throughout the beaver dam just to prove the point that, okay, maybe I don't want to be you anymore. And the way they do that is just comical, because I think they wear these like traffic cones with like straw and goofy marker faces of each other drawn on them, and even when they have each other's superhero costume on, they still wearing that. So it's just like it's like a ridiculous epilogue to the 5 episodes we discussed that's worth watching. Well, Slimesters and Gakkoids, thank you for joining us again for this Muscular Beaver Saga ranking. It went a lot quicker than we expected, but hopefully you enjoyed us reviewing this this collection of episodes a little bit more in depth. But before we go, we're going to do a segment. One of your old, tried and true favorites, Think Fast to Make the Grade. Time to think fast to make the grade. All right, so for Think Fast to Make the Grade, Alex is going to play with me as I answer him a couple of questions to test his Muscular Beaver knowledge. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing that I'm asking him and him not asking me because of how not fresh it is in my head right now. So let's see if your memory of watching this the previous night holds tight and true. So starting off for the first question, which non-Muscular Beaver titled episode of Angry Beavers did Daggett dress as the titular comic book hero first?
Well, I didn't know until you just said it, because you said it was Gift Horse was the first time that he showed up.
Yep, that is correct. 1 point for you. Question 2. What character does Norbert dress up as in order to stop Muscular Beaver from making situations worse in the forest?
Baron Bad Beaver.
That is correct. 2 for 2. Question 3. Which character becomes Muscular Beaver's sidekick in Muscular Beaver 3 and was saved by Daggett?
It was a Tree Flower.
That is correct. Technically as Goody Good Gal, but yeah. Daggett only mentions that in passing. She's not like wearing the costume that she's wearing in Muscular Beaver 4. So
yeah, she was just in the ski outfit.
Yeah.
When she saved him.
Yep. Sounds good. Question 4. What is the name of the superhero group established in Muscular Beaver 4?
The Justice Guys. And one gal.
Yep, that's it. Because she had to make that known.
Every time. Every single time.
Yep. Question 5. Name all the villains Muscular Beaver has encountered in this saga.
Well, Baron Bad Beaver.
Yep.
And Splinter. And Tobot!
That's it. There was only 3 distinct villains. Other than that, it was just Daggett facing Baron Bad Beaver multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
Question 6. What was Daggett lowered into on Baron Bad Beaver's secret lair?
A giant Honey, I Shrunk the Kids sized bowl of cereal.
Yep. I don't know why. Maybe Daggett doesn't like cereal, or he's lactose intolerant like Super Dude. But that's what happens. Actually, that happened in a Super Dude sketch, didn't it? Where he was like in a jacuzzi or something of milk, and he was like getting really weak, and Penny Lane had to dive in there to save him.
Yeah, and he was also in a milk factory at one point. They had him on a conveyor belt that was going to just dump milk on top of him.
Yeah.
I also loved in this episode where Bing had to push the button to stop the spoon from lowering, and instead of pushing the up button or the down button, he pushed the instant death button, and it like a rocket shot through the cereal.
Yeah. Why do you even have that button?
Why do we even have that lever?
Yeah, Ember's too groove, love it. Question 7, final question of the round. What ordinary clothing makes up Muscular Beaver's outfit?
Okay, I'm gonna have to look away.
Yeah, I know, I should have hid the answers from you.
No, it's okay. He's got the sock hat that he uses as a mask.
Yep.
his shirt, his sweaty shirt with the M and B on it for Muscular Beaver.
Yep.
In the 5th episode, he took the shirt off. We saw that he was using football shoulder pads.
Yep.
To make the muscles look bigger, and I think balloons also. The gloves, the kitchen gloves, and well, of course, the underwear.
Yep. There's one more actually.
Is there?
Believe it or not.
Well, the one hair.
No.
The other.
I'll give you a hint. It's on his back.
It was shoe. Oh, the cape.
Yeah.
Duh. It was just a towel, wasn't it?
It was a towel in some episodes, but in I think 4 or 5, it was a shower curtain. But I'll accept either answer. Cool. Yeah, you got a 100%. Good job. I don't know if that's because you're really good at memory recollection, or if I made these questions too easy. Slimesters and Gackoids, you decide.
Well, it did help that I just watched these episodes, and if you had gotten into more detailed stuff, I definitely would have struggled. And the first one, I wouldn't have known the first one had you not said it previously in the things to acknowledge.
Well, I have a pretty bad track record of making Think Fast to make the grade questions hard, so I didn't want to piss you off too. So I eased off this time around.
A lot more than that to make me mad.
Yeah, I mean, I can go Ken Jennings level of questions for the future, but I think I would get hate mail and death threats if I did that consistently. So we'll hold off that segment for a while.
You're good. You're good.
All right, Slimesters and Gackoids, it's time to hang up our capes and put away our masks as we resume to our normal daily jobs in the humdrum course of life. Tune in next time as we're going to celebrate my birthday, believe it or not, for top 5 birthday episodes of 90s Nick. This is going to be a lot of fun because I'm actually going to have my sister Chelsea here with us as our guest to kind of recollect some of our favorite 90s Nicktoons shows. Hopefully she can recall a few favorites for top 5, and we're just going to see what we're going to come up with. I think it's going to be a lot of fun since it's our first official top 5 episode of the series.
Yay!
Are you excited, Alex?
I'm always excited. Always
Awesome.
excited.
Yeah,
I love doing all of this, so this is all going to be fun.
Bring some presents, get ready to eat cake, because you're invited to our 5th Patreon episode. And if you're not a Patreon already, or you know people who aren't at the Splaterific or Splatceptional tier, the top 2 tiers, definitely encourage them to upgrade so they can check out all the exclusive bonus content that we work tirelessly to bring you at the highest quality too. In the meantime, you can catch us at splatattack2021@gmail.com to send us all your questions, thoughts, and overall 90s Nick ramblings that we might share on a future Mona's Mailbag segment. Additionally, you could also DM us on Instagram if that's faster for you. We also have a bonfire page where we sell shirts like this and mugs just like this that you can kind of just show your podcast pride with. You know, we do our best to find different ways to support the show so that we're not sent to the poorhouse. So one way you can help us keep the show going is by buying a shirt or a mug from us. Clearly, I'm delirious from talking about Muscular Beaver.
Keep the go showing.
Buy this. I don't know what else to say. Buy this. Oh, you can't even see it.
There it is.
Yeah, there you go. Anything you want to add, Alex, before we close this episode?
Just as always, because this is for our patrons, thank you all so much for your support. It really does mean a lot to us. Your support encourages us to keep going. So please keep spreading the word like hepatitis, and unless we can get infected.
Make sure you get a checkup after you spread the word.
Yes, please.
So look, stay tuned for your name in the credits if you're a patron. Alrighty, anything else we should talk about before we head on out, Alex?
I think we got it covered, bub.
Alrighty. Splat you later, citizens! Dun 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 dun
Time to go do things that are not good.
Yes, evil things. Yeah. Catch you later.
Reprise the theme song and roll the credits.
Hard to believe, folks, but it's time to say goodbye.
Nighty-night.
Hey, check us out next time for more adventure and another great legend of the Hidden Temple.
What'll we do till then?
Chill for a couple. We'll be back.
You're on, Nick.
And it was time for the superhero to move on. I declare this meeting of the Midnight Society closed.
Bye-bye.
Such is the way of things when criminals dare to challenge. Muscular Beaver World's greatest superhero Wooosh!
Ouch! Stop that! I'm defeated already.
Ha-ha! Here! I win! I am Tobot! All of you together could not defoot me. Muscular Beaver's mine will soon be mine for eternity!